The walls of my apartment held a secret for decades, waiting silently behind plaster and wood for someone curious enough to discover it. What I found changed not only my living space, but also the way I understood the history beneath the surface of everyday life. It's cheap because it's haunted, my friend May joked, as I signed the lease on my new apartment. 6 months ago, I'd been desperate to find an affordable place in the city, and this building with its creaking floors and outdated fixtures was perfect for my budget. The real estate agent had called it a residence with character. In this city, that was code for falling apart but charming. My apartment sat on the 3rd floor of a 5-story brick building, constructed sometime in the 1920s. The hallways smelled faintly of old wood, and something I couldn't quite identify history. Perhaps my unit had those details you don't find in modern construction. Elaborate crown molding, a heavy wooden door that required a proper key not a card, and strange built-in closets with odd dimensions. I'd grown to love my quirky home, even with its temperamental radiator, and the bathroom light that flickered mysteriously whenever it rained. But there was one feature that had bothered me since Mauve Day, a rectangular wooden panel at the back of my bedroom closet, crudely nailed shut. It's probably just access to pipes or something, my boyfriend Liam had said when I first pointed it out. Old buildings have weird stuff like that. I'd accepted his explanation then, pushing my clothes in front of the panel and forgetting about it. Until last Sunday. I'd been rearranging furniture, trying to make my small bedroom feel more spacious, when I emptied the closet completely. There it was again, that sealed panel, about 3 feet wide and 4 feet tall, with tarnished nails hammered around its edges at irregular intervals. It looked less like professional construction, and more like someone's hasty attempt to close something off. I want to know what's behind it, I told Liam, who had come over to help me move my dresser. Are you sure? What if it's just going to release a bunch of ancient dust, or asbestos or something? He asked, only half joking. I've been breathing whatever's in these walls for 6 months already, I replied. Might as well see what else this place is hiding. Liam shrugged, went to his car, and returned with a small toolkit. Landlord might not be happy about this, he warned as he worked the claw of a hammer under the edge of the panel. The first nail creaked in protest, then popped free with a sound that seemed impossibly loud in the quiet apartment. Dust immediately puffed out from the opening. See, just decades of dust, Liam said. But I was already reaching for the hammer. Keep going. 20 minutes and several splinters later, we removed the panel entirely only to find another wall behind it. I felt a wave of disappointment. Well, that was anticlimactic, Liam said, already turning away. But something didn't seem right. I pressed my palm against this second wall. Unlike the solid plaster walls throughout the rest of the apartment, this one felt different, thinner, almost flexible. This isn't the same as the other walls, I said, knocking lightly. The hollow sound confirmed my suspicion. There's something behind here. Liam looked skeptical, but interested now. He tapped different sections of the wall, listening carefully. This part sounds different, he said, pointing to a spot near the center. He pressed harder, and suddenly his fingers broke through the material, some kind of drywall, but thinner than standard. He quickly pulled back. Whoa. Keep going, I urged, now fully committed to this mystery. Liam worked carefully, breaking away small pieces at first, then larger chunks, until we had created an opening large enough to peer through. Complete darkness greeted us. I need my phone, I said, fumbling in my pocket for the flashlight. When I shined it through the hole, I gasped. Beyond the false wall was a spacer room roughly 6 feet by 8 feet, with a ceiling that matched the height of my apartment. It was completely enclosed, with no windows or visible doors, except for the hole we'd just created. Holy shit, Liam whispered. We expanded the opening until it was large enough to climb through. A cloud of dust swirled in the beam of my flashlight, dancing motes that hadn't been disturbed in who knows how long. The air inside smelled stale and ancient. The room was mostly empty. A single wooden chair sat in one corner, its simple design suggesting it was from the mid-century. In another corner, a stack of yellowed newspapers was piled neatly. The topmost issue of the local paper, dating back to March 1973. What is this place? Liam asked, his voice hushed as if we were in a library or church. I have no idea, I replied, running my light slowly across the walls. Unlike my apartment's textured plaster, these walls were smooth. Someone had painted them a pale blue, a color that might have once been cheerful, but had faded to a ghostly shade. In one corner, near the stack of newspapers, I noticed something scratched into the paint. Moving closer, I saw it was a name, Eleanor, with no last name, and beneath it, a small heart. A chill ran through me, raising goosebumps on my arms, despite the stuffiness of the hidden room. Who was Eleanor? Why would someone create a secret room and then seal it away? I'm calling my landlord, I said, backing out through our makeshift entrance. Mr. Chen arrived an hour later, toolbox in hand and confusion on his face. I'd tried to explain over the phone, but some things need to be seen to be believed. You found what? He asked as I led him to my bedroom. A hidden room, I repeated. Behind my closet. He looked skeptical until he saw the broken wall, then his expression shifted to genuine surprise. I've owned this building for 23 years, he said, following me through the opening. I had no idea this was here. We stood together in the small space, Mr. Chen's flashlight joining mine to illuminate the mysterious room. This doesn't make sense, he muttered, running his hand along one wall. The building plans never showed any space here. So you never sealed this up? Or the previous owner? I asked. He shook his head. No. And it would have been before the previous owner too. They only had it for 5 years before me. He picked up one of the newspapers. 1973. That's nearly 50 years ago. Who was living here then? I asked. I don't know, he admitted. Those records would be with the city. As we examined the room more carefully, Mr. Chen discovered something I had missed: a small metal box pushed far into the corner behind the chair. It was locked, but the mechanism was simple, and after some gentle persuasion with a screwdriver, it opened. Inside was a collection of items that only deepened the mystery: a woman's compact mirror, with the initial E engraved on it, a small book of poetry with several pages marked, a few black and white photographs of a young woman with dark hair, and a handwritten letter that had never been sent. The letter was addressed to someone named James, and signed "Forever yours, Eleanor." The contents were personal: a love letter, essentially, but with references to needing to stay out of sight, and until it's safe again. Was she hiding from someone? I wondered aloud. Mr. Chen carefully returned the items to the box. I don't know, but whatever happened here was a long time ago. We agreed that I could keep the room after all. It was technically part of the square footage I was already paying for, even if no one had known it existed. Mr. Chen even offered to help properly finish the opening and install a real door. Over the next few weeks, I cleaned the hidden room, carefully preserving the newspapers and Eleanor's belongings. I painted over the faded blue walls with a warm yellow, installed proper lighting, and transformed the space into a cozy reading nook. But I left Eleanor's name scratched in the corner, covering it with a framed piece of art that could be moved whenever I wanted to see it. I've spent countless hours researching the building's history and the possible identity of Eleanor. City records showed that in the early 1970s, the apartment had been rented to a man named James Collier. No Eleanor appeared on any lease, but I found a mention in an old newspaper of a missing woman named Eleanor Reed who had disappeared in 1972. Her description matched the woman in the photographs. I don't know if my Eleanor and the missing Eleanor Reed are the same person, or what connection she had to James Collier. I don't know if this room was a loving hideaway, or something more sinister. The letter suggested the former, but why seal it up completely? Sometimes, when I'm reading in what I now call Eleanor's room, I imagine I can feel her presence, not in a haunting way, but as if the space itself remembers her. I wonder if she ever returned for her belongings, or if whoever sealed the room did so, knowing she never would. The mystery remains, hidden in the walls like the room itself once was, a secret from another time, waiting for someone curious enough to uncover the truth. In a city of millions, in a building nearly a century old, how many other stories remain concealed behind walls, beneath floorboards, or in sealed rooms? How many secrets do we live alongside every day, never knowing they're there until curiosity and, perhaps a bit of courage leads us to break through to the other side?